Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of our CSGO podcast, 808s and Beefake. I'm Jack,
Tom?
and what can I say about ESL One Cologne except it was a big mood.
Hmm.
All right, I'm ready to die now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was rough. That was pretty rough.
Listen, I'm not gonna apologize for the terrible jokes I make on this podcast. That would be compromising my artistic integrity because as a full-time podcaster, that's what I am, an artiste.
A man of the people, a giver.
All right, but for real, we should probably start with Big and their ridiculous. Uh, we should call this an overperformance, right?
I'd say so. I think that it wasn't like the most traditional overperformance because I don't think it was like where we just saw a team just fucking absolutely firing off because I think it was more calculated than that. And I think it was a mixture of Gobby's system completely coming together because I really rate him as an in-game leader, and you could tell how well drilled they were, as well as the whole team individually showed up in. It seemed like each player had a different parameter that they had to hit, or a different like sort of thing they had to do to go into really good form. Like Smoothie and Tizian at their first ever event, they both turned up in a pretty decent way.
A lot of
On
impact
top of
out of
that,
those. A lot of impact out of those two guys.
yeah, because Tizian, like, he had a couple maps where he was like a bit whack. But I don't think that's anything to really be too worried about because it was still his first LAN. And then Smoothie was pretty much all impact. Like that was a really interesting one because he didn't get like crazy frags, but he would win them like consistently win you like 3 rounds a half.
Not a bad thing to have.
Yeah. The crazy one I think was that Nex was so good in playoffs after struggling his whole career to turn up on like in general and especially on the big stage. Like I think we knew Tabson was going to be super good, but I think Nex being that good as well as Gobby still contributing like a decent amount. Like he was very good, particularly like playing Pit Inferno, or whenever he was put into clutch situations, he was usually quite good. My my main problem with them is I think they knew coming in that they were going to be able to, if they put everything into one LAN, it was going to be this LAN because this was the biggest one they were going to play. They got direct invited to their home country, and they are a team who are absolute demo rats. So I think that they were very 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 well prepared, and some of the teams they played were not as well prepared.
Not
And when I
naming
look at
names.
this, yeah, we're a positive podcast here. We're not gonna the incriminated will rename nameless, but I think that my main problem for them is I don't know what's gonna happen to Smoothie once people get their hands on the demos because he's actually got a really weird style of play, especially with the AWP. Like he's very, very, very aggressive, and I'm worried that it's going to be like. Well, I'm questioning like, is he like Fur or like a classic JW, or is he more like Fitch,
Yeah,
where
Fitch was
it
gonna
was sick
be.
for like a tournament, everyone got his demos, and they were like, "Oh, this is what you're doing, cool." Like, and then he was gone from Navi, Gambit in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, time will tell to see if UKCS is back or not. But I think that like the first place to start with Big is probably like their utility usage. They're not quite Astralis levels, but they're really really good with it. Like they're
Yeah, they're
consistent.
still the best, one of the best teams, like tier 1 nades.
They're doing consistent damage with those nades early on in rounds. They have great flash setups. Their executes are on point because they're a God B team.
The only like criticism I'd have in that regard is when I was watching them, you would see a lot of rounds where this is another thing I think is going to get abused in demos is they would have an opportunity to go into a site like where they got an entry or they had a read or something. And instead of just going to the site, they would deliberately just like use up a bunch of time to go into like a full execute with like each guy throwing like 3 nades or most of them throwing like a whole bunch of nades and stuff. And that gave opportunities for CT rotators to get into much better positions. And it didn't burn them a whole ton. Like I remember there was a train game where it actually burned them a couple times, but I think that's something that people are going to absolutely get out and abuse in the demos potentially. So they're going to have to adjust to that. And they didn't seem to, when they had to kind of adapt, they didn't seem to be able to transition from that sort of heavy execute into a more like free flowing, like 2018 kind of Counter Strike.
So there, I guess what you're saying is like, even though we saw another incredibly tactical team kind of get countered this lane, like they're even more counterable.
Yeah, I think this is a team where not many teams put a ton of research into them, and also you kind of couldn't because they hadn't played a lot of tier one CS before this, as well as like they would have definitely been saving a lot of good shit for this tournament because this is their like fucking Super Bowl. This team, like this is their big one, so they're gonna put all their efforts into getting the best result they can from that. And like that still doesn't, not to take anything away from it, like that's still like a super legit result. And I'd like to see them more because I just like tactical teams a lot and I like God B a lot. But I don't envision them making finals super often.
Yeah, I don't see it either. Like especially since you have a big variable in Nex. Like obviously I think Tabson's proved himself to be really dependable, but like Nex had a really really bad final. Like he only had one really good map, and then he was just like
Mm.
bottom fragging all the other three. Like if you can't win a tournament when probably your second best player like isn't consistent enough to show up like that.
Because I know like I think Gob and Tabson are really the only players where you know what you're gonna get out of them. And honestly, Tizian's getting there before Nex and Smurria right now. Which because I know like Tizian was like the biggest buyout in German Counter Strike, and like within that scene, he's apparently rated very highly. I hadn't seen very much of him in the past, but everyone else seemed to in that scene seemed to be very very excited for him. But I think the other interesting thing is that I feel like at this point we have to start like talking about how the home crowd actually affects teams. And initially, like when this stuff would happen, where like every land would be like the best crowd in esports, like I would be like, yeah, okay, well, it doesn't really fucking like, and then like VP would win Katowice or play and be like, you are the sixth man. Like I don't know why they're vampires, but like they would go out and say that shit. But like I feel like there has to be a correlation here with like Renegades having their best performance at IM Sydney, Big having their best performance at this one. Um, in one way, this kind of rips on in like MiBR because they still didn't do that well at Belo Horizonte. But I think there is definitely a component here where like that adrenaline you get, because like Nifty was talking about it on a long form interview he did with Thorn recently, where like just like the adrenaline you get when, and a lot of guys talked about like when every time you get a pick, like everyone just goes fucking wild.
It's gotta feel good.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing to watch heading forward. It's definitely not like an excuse for the teams who lost to them, but I think it might add like 5% to your fragging or some shit. Like it's very hard to quantify. Um, I guess for a lot of teams as well, it's just you don't have jet lags. That helps too.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I think that the bigger help is probably that like you're a lot more comfortable there. It's not like you're not feeling like a fish out of water for most of these players. Like I'm sure Nifty felt out of water when they went to IM Sydney, but like most of his team didn't.
Yeah, for a lot of them, they're visiting home. 'Cause I think a fair few of them come from. I think like two of them are from Sydney. But regardless, they're back into homeland.
All right. Anything more before we switch over to the tournament winners?
No, I'd say just great showing from them. Gobby showed why he's one of those forgotten in-game leaders that like the fucking like the dickheads on Reddit just think like ha 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 fucking bot, but he's actually like really good. He is a bot though, like definitely sucks at the game, but he runs his teams really well, and he always has. So
All right, then let's switch over to Navi. I think the first talking point here is that like simple, obviously, this guy fucks, but he had a lot of help this tournament from his partner in crime, Electronic. Like, there's a legit case for Electronic as the tournament MVP.
yeah,
He might even
I,
be my tournament MVP, honestly. He was super good.
yeah, I think I it's hard because I think I edged Simple based off the pure like volume of what he did, but I think Electronic a lot of the time was the guy who like turned maps around, and it's like I don't know, it's hard to say like maybe Simple had like a more consistent performance, but he just had like a bunch of big rounds, and it looks like I just like I do want to like congratulate this team on the ability to I think like Electronic was the puzzle piece that they finally figured out that's elevated this team. Like, because before this, like you would watch them, and it's like this just doesn't seem like a tier one team. Like this doesn't seem like the team who's going to contend to be like second best in the world or before Astralis first in the world. But they found out a way to put Electronic into their system more effectively, but also he just plays so much more confident. Like he looks like he knows he has like the faith of all his teammates in him, and he plays like it as well. Like the way he aggresses onto sites is fucking nuts. Like he's just like if he's one of those players as well. Like he did this thing I saw a lot where like he is very eager to like jiggle peek and like do that like jumping like strafe peek around corners to try and fuck up an AWPer, and if the AWPer misses, then he would just like leap on that motherfucker and kill them. He's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, like this is the player that we saw in Flipside just like ruining people's lives, and we're like, this guy needs to get in Navi, like right now.
And he wasn't bad when he first got into Navi, but he didn't get the resources I think that he got because in Flipside he was the main man, but here like he's actually getting a role that's better suited to him than he was initially, and he's getting a lot more resources to perform.
Yeah, because he's way more consistent than Flamey.
Yeah, they've actually figured out a. The crazy thing is, so they figured out like a better tier, like hierarchy of stars, like because you've got Simple obviously at the top because he's like in the all-time peak in CS:GO. Like he has
Mm,
to be, like
mm.
he's guaranteed results in pretty much every map. And then Electronic, honestly, like he had that quote where he said, "I can be better than Simple," and that's not crazy. Like he's fucking insane. Like he's in like a god tier form. Like he's one of the best players in the world right now. And then Flamey's kind of fallen off the horse a little bit. Like I don't know what's happened to him, but that's kind of fine when they have Simple and Electronic like this, because if he's inconsistent, but he can still take over maps and still contribute decently and like win you rounds, like every so often just go off like it's fucking two bullet three people in the head. Like I think that's still super valuable. Like he's definitely not a bot. It's just by the standards before, and I think a third star role fits him a little better as a player.
Yeah, just so you can have more consistency at the top, and then you still have that volatility, but you also have him in a position where you can give him resources, flash him in, stuff like that.
Yeah, but I want to say speaking of consistent or inconsistency, fucking Zeus, dude.
Oh Lord, listen, I've got some things to say about Zeus. Like that Astralis series, like the not like Navi won that, and but the problem is Zeus is going to be the hero in the grand narrative of this because he dropped 30 frags in the closing map. He had the clutch gene. But the problem was he was absolute dog shit on the first 2 maps.
Yeah, like I I don't know. Like I'm fucking I like initially there's been a lot of times in CS:GO history where I was like buying in super hard on Zeus, but like I'm gonna say even though this is a this is a great time for him, like I'm out on this guy right now because like there was like this guy has spent the last 6 months eroding his legacy in CS:GO by like looking at this team, like you're saying, like failing to turn an absolutely like star-studded core with a lot of resources coming from the organization into like a contender. Like this team is straight up good enough to be a contender, and I'll give them the caveat that like Edward was really fucking horrible for a few months here. And he was like straight up just letting the team down. But then on the other hand, like I think Zeus probably has the biggest influence on roster moves with this team, and he's at least somewhat elected to keep Edward. And maybe it's like just guesswork, but I'd assume that there are other guys on this team who would be more open to cutting Edward, but Zeus is probably the influential cause in keeping him. But like the thing that really kills me with Zeus is I think his attitude, because he did a couple things at this land that have come out that were pretty unreasonable. Like one like more publicly than the other, but like the main thing is there was that tweet that went out where essentially I think Thorin said that he was a great leader but a bot, and he retweets that and he's like, good thing I'm a bot winning my winning my third
Third.
event in a row while you watch our games and pretend you know what's going on. Since you've never won anything significant in CS, I don't find your statements competent, neither do I think you're worthy of being an analyst. No respect. And I'll say, like, first of all, like we have to throw aside the point that like because you've never been there and done it, you can't have valuable opinions in esports or sports in general, like whatever. But the other thing he
Get
did,
Yanko off the desk in that case.
yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like I hate that opinion because it's like you can still have it like opinions and they can still have value. You don't have to have done, like, especially if you've been watching for 10 years, like a lot of these analysts have done. But the other thing he did, which I don't know if you've heard because it hasn't gone big. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think I have.
So there, he posted a video to, I think it was an Instagram story that he like very quickly deleted, but a couple people grabbed it. I know Richard Lewis showed it recently, where it was at the hotel that most of the players were standing at after the event. Apparently, this was going to the after party, and like and as in the lobby, like Thorin's off talking to someone, and Zeus is filming him with his camera and like zooming in on him, and apparently like he's like muttering shit, and it like translated to something along the lines of like, it's like, look at this man, he knows I am filming him, he is afraid. And it's like, what the fuck, dog?
It's so weird. What the fuck?
Like let's talk about the fact that like he's trying to be this like badass, or he's either has trying to be like a badass, or he's straight up threatening someone in the scene for saying something that's demonstrably true, that he's a great leader but he's like fucking horrible. Because you brought up that 30 bomb against Astralis, and the really crazy thing is like Lurpus, the young stats boy, came up with that like really good tweet or something like,
He hasn't done
before
this
that
in
30 bomb,
years.
that was the first map since July 2015 against Gplay. Before that, 2014 versus Complexity, then a couple in 2013, and those are the only times,
And like
online or offline.
Complexity is the only like decent team in that list at the time. Like that was 2014 Complexity, I assume before they turned into Cloud9.
Yeah, and then I think like as well, because he elaborated and said something along the lines of, he like sort of extrapolated a bunch of context and said essentially, if you're heading into a map in 2018 with Zeus, the odds of him dropping 30 in regulation is below 0.1%, like 1 in 1,000 maps. And even like that's horrible, but even throwing that aside, not dropping 30 in regulation is a red flag. Like, and this is including like all online games. He's been constantly playing for over 3 years without dropping 30, and this is just not something that happens. Like, it just doesn't happen to good players. Like, you can say what you want about his system, he is a fucking problem in terms of fragging.
Listen, I want to make a comparison here because you and I listened to the Drake masterpiece Tour de Force that was Scorpion, and like
Where's this going?
this Zeus behavior seems like Zeus is like Drake. Like he's at the top of his game. He just won fucking 3 tournaments in a row, even though one of them was like a weird joke one in China. But he's so fucking insecure. It's unreal.
Yeah, and I like a lot of in-game leaders have had this problem, but never to the extent of lashing out like Zeus has. Like I do want to talk about his little three-peat that he's talking about here, where and you're right, you put a huge asterisk against that CS:GO Asian Championships because like when you actually look at that fucking like that first LAN they won, like it is a LAN of complete like almost completely tier 3 talent, no other tier 1 teams outside of NaVi. Like their greatest threats were a NIP squad who had just imploded and made roster moves, and then Tyloo with a stand-in. But like who actually ended up being their greatest threat was an envious mix team that had Kiyashima in-game leading and Sixer. Like, don't even need to say what he was doing. Like, Sixer was in this team, and they still played Na'Vi close in the semi-final. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then, like, when you go to that Star Series season 5 they won, like that you finally get some legit teams, like no FaZe or Astralis, but you have a bunch of solid tier 2s, a few tier 1 teams. But again, when you look through who they beat, they lost to Tyloo and Mouse in the group stage and went out of the Swiss, like went through the Swiss system 3-2, beating Flash Gaming, Virtus Pro, and Avanga. And then once you get to playoffs, it's like, okay, you finally beat someone legit, but it's a fucking super washed up whack SK gaming team. And then finally you get to play a tier 1 team who's actually in form, and you play Mouse, and it's like, or I guess not in form because they're kind of on the decline. It's like, okay, finally get a legit win, you 2-1 them. And you get to the final, it's like, oh yeah, but you get to skip Team Liquid, you play NRG in the final, who were shook as fuck and pretty horrible. Like, then even moving to Cologne, like when you watch their run through the fucking series, like they start off losing a best of one to a G2 team who are completely in rebuild. And then after that, which is like, okay, it's not the worst, it's a best of one, 16-14, but that's still like a pretty horrible thing for a team who want to be the best in the world.
And it was on
And then,
Inferno too. Like that's one of Navi's best maps.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I don't understand how they dropped that. And they dropped like a 10-5 T-side lead. Like that's really bad.
Like
And
Smiths was
then
like the best player on fucking G2.
that's true. That was that map where like Smith was just like running in and bodying Simple again and again. But like even it's kind of even worse to me what happened after that, where they went into the lower bracket and they played a dead as fuck C9, even deader than we could have known. Who beyond being dead, they were playing with Sticko as a stand-in who just got kicked for not performing in Mousesports, and Skadoodle who dropped 18 kills in 58 rounds in this series. Cloud9 still played them close, 16-14, 16-12 over 2 maps. And then even worse, they nearly get 2-0'd by ENCE and because they lose the first map and then barely claw through their own map pick 16-14. And then finally they 2-0 Fnatic, which was like fairly convincing. Still, like Fnatic had to go at it. Then you finally get to the result where they beat Astralis, and it's like, okay, here's the one. They peaked at the right time, and it was fucking super close. They edged it, but like it's still beating Astralis, so obviously you can't like talk shit to that. Then when you get to the final, though, like that big match, whilst they were in control for the most part, it was still super scrappy, and Big hit double digits on 2 of the maps that Na'Vi won. Like, like just straight up a tier 2 team is still like going at you in a best of 5. But like my point in general is they avoided a lot of tier 1 teams over this run. And like at this LAN in general, they didn't have to touch FaZe, didn't have to touch Liquid, who both got upset earlier. Like only really Astralis is the really big team they played. But the overall like thing I'm getting at is they were not very convincing. They could have bombed out of this run at a shitload of points where they just edged it. They avoided a lot of big teams, and my other issue with that is Zeus starts mouthing off, and it's a bit rich within that context, but it's also come out in more information that apparently a lot of times in this team he was just like turning up, clocking in the 9 to 5, doing like the main, like the bare minimum to still get like a fucking paycheck in a professional team. And that's not an issue. Like, I don't give a fuck if a Dren in Gambit is just like phoning it in, because like he's earned that at this point. It's not a super good team. But when like you've got Simple in the form of like this entire esport, like the greatest form of all time, like fucking going like absolutely just transcending all in this world that we thought was possible with a fucking keyboard and mouse. And then you cut to Zeus and he cannot buy a frag. Like, surely questions have to be asked if he's not putting in the work and like wasting a prime like this. Like, I guess in the end, my thing is like, congratulations to NaVi. After 2 years, you've finally achieved par, which is looking like a tier 1 team for any reasonable amount of time. Like, I don't know. This is a great run of events, but like, I'm still tilted as fuck about this team. Like, I'll say I don't think they're going to continue like this, because I am not sold on this team.
I think that's fair. I do want to bring up one more point with Navi. You and I went back and forth on this. During this Astralis series, one like we talked about um how replicable is this CS that Navi's playing, because they'd often win close eco rounds. They stacked bomb sites a ton on Inferno, like with
Mm.
seemingly no information as to what Astralis was doing. Like they just hard stack a bomb site on gun rounds guessing, and then Astralis would walk into it and they'd get shoot up. So I know you're not a fan of this, but I understand why they did it. Like this is the only way that they were going to beat Astralis. You can't beat Astralis playing straight up like tactical CS. You can't do it. Like you have to mix it up. You have to like it's not as replicable as just as playing the numbers, but it's the only way you're gonna win. You like Navi has a skill advantage over Astralis right now, and they used it. They exploited it, and I think that deserves a little bit of credit.
For me, it's more that it's not necessarily they're stacking sites. It's mainly the way that they countered the early aggression of Astralis, and I don't think Astralis adapted as well as they should have to a lot of the things Navi were doing. But with it's it seems like that fucking, I haven't seen the movie, but that Thanos thing where it's like in 9 million situations, like how many times do we win? Once, and it was doing this. Like they had like obviously very very good reads, and it seems like watching throughout the LAN, it looks like when like say you're like cramming for an exam the night before, so what you do is you get super familiar on one aspect of the exam, and like if I get a really good mark in that and just like kind of phone it in on the other ones and like get an okay mark, hopefully that good like excellent mark will carry me through the rest of the fucking exam. But my problem with that is like it only just worked. Like I think the map where like there's a I think there's a very compelling argument that there's a lot of alternate universes here where they don't win those two crucial economy rounds late on Overpass, and then it turns into another classic Astralis 2-0 where they edge you out on your map pick and then they just fucking obliterate you on their map pick. Like the problem is like they both the maps that Navi had a chance on were incredibly close, whereas they went into like Astralis's map pick knowing like we're gonna get blown out, we have to win our two maps. And I think that's a really scary thing to approach in general, is knowing that you're pretty much heading into this, you're pretty much going to play two maps and you have to win both of them. As well as I think Astralis are the best placed team to be able to come back like they're not going back to the drawing board, but they're like looking at this series being like, this is what went wrong and let's try again next time. Like especially on Overpass, like they were working picks really well, but a lot of the time they were doing like this really weird style where they would just like all spread out to or spread out to a reasonable degree, like kind of go into a default, and then they would like take solo duels around the fucking map, and then like if they killed someone on a site, they would just like bomb into the site as quick as possible. And I don't know if this is gonna like it barely worked this time. I don't know if it's gonna work against Astralis again. Like they finally do look like they can write like they can pencil themselves in as the second best team in the world, but like I don't think they're gonna be able to win events with Astralis at them going forward.
It's just going to be an IEM Sydney situation where Astralis just tweaks some things and then just kind of bludgeon them after this.
Yeah, it really did remind me of the IM Sydney series where a team who like honestly had a really shaky event at times. Like I was saying, there was a lot of points where NaVi just like fucking edged it, not even like including this series, but against ENCE, against to some degree Cloud9. Like there was a lot of times where NaVi could have bombed out of this LAN and we wouldn't even be talking about them now. But it all came together. They hit those crucial clutch moments. They won. They like peaked at the right time, and it only just got them past Astralis. Like with everything going their way, like Zeus dropping 30, Electronic going ascending to God mode, Simple continuing to be fantastic. Like it only just worked.
All right, speaking of teams that bombed out of the tournament, let's talk about one of the biggest surprises of the tournament. Team Liquid going out in 3 maps. Just no contest. They lost their first map to Big on Dust 2, one of their better maps, 16-7. Like later we'd find out that Big were also very, very good on Dust 2, but then losing a best of 3 in 2 maps to North, a team they should absolutely be better than. This is a really embarrassing performance from Team Liquid.
Yeah, because I'd say I don't think we knew how good Big were on Dust 2, but I think it's still a problem that they gave them Dust 2 because we knew they were good on Dust 2, and it's like it's this weird like sometimes when I watch Team Liquid play against lower teams, like the phrase like they play to their level seems to sort of fit them, but I think it's more than that. Like I don't think they don't seem to respect the lower teams, even though they often lose to them, because they gave Big a map that they really wanted, and then which is like a huge opportunity for Big, even though they still should win it. But also they didn't look prepared. Like especially for North, because like Big to some degree was saving strats for this fucking tournament, but like I rate North really like a lot higher than most people, but like that should have been a like a fucking banger for Liquid. Like there's just too much fucking talent on this team to not be able to beat North. Especially get 2-0'd by them.
I don't think that this Team Liquid team is going to avoid roster moves anymore after this disappointment. Like something's got to give, and I think this is going to be the event that catalyzes that.
Yeah, like we're talking about a team who like have shown glimpses of world class level, and like part of you goes, well, why don't we just stick it together, see if we can figure it out, get back to that level? But like it's been 3 months since Taco joined. It's been 5 months since NAF joined, and all these fantastic pieces, resources, all the shit that they're getting from the org, from the coach, they are still not able to consistently convert upon all that shit. Like it's really strange because they're a very tactical team a lot of the time, and that's usually a lot more consistent. But like, I think you just have to make moves because it's not good enough. Like it's not happening, and they've had enough time to settle into this five.
Honestly, like with this and the move that we're going to talk about later, I think that we're about to head into another down period for NACS. This
Um,
this this might be
I
a
wouldn't agree with this Liquid team. Like I think they're one move away from being like I still think they're gonna hit some high levels, but I think they're like one move away from figuring it out. Also, so the way I view the move for this team is I think that like Twist for me is going to be an absolute superstar. He's just really young, so I don't think he's quite there yet. But like on a long enough time scale, he just becomes a fucking absolute god. Like he's so well rounded. He can do pretty much like he's even doing like some AWPing now. Like he can do pretty much everything. Like this guy's gonna be like you have a fucking guy locked into your roster who is slowly getting to superstar level. They just need a move for the more short term because like I think their long term is going to be more or less a lock. My problem with this team is I think they need a better AWPer and they need a better in-game leader. And obviously, two birds with one stone. I think you have to get rid of Nitro here.
Yeah, the
And
op
that move I
problem,
think we're talking about is probably going to fix this.
like the op problem persists for Team Liquid. Like it's like that doesn't change because they got absolutely ruined by Smooya on Dust 2. Like he lived up to that fucking shit talking tweet where he's like, we'll destroy Liquid. And it's like, yeah, okay, Smooya, but he came through. Good on you, bud.
Yeah, like, and it's because it's usually not even like against. It's usually not as much against tier two teams, but tier one teams absolutely fleece them. Like with AWPers, it's like it's a really bad look. Like they like whenever like Device or Guardian like sees that they're playing Liquid next, it's like, oh, it's like just free fucking stats. Like if they're like overall HLTV ranking for the events not as good as they like, they're like, oh thank fuck we drew Liquid because I'm going to drop like a 30 bomb and we drop at least one 30 bomb, never have a map below 20 kills. Like it's and that's like such a huge problem at this point. I'm surprised they haven't tried switching the AWP around at all because I think Naf's like an accomplished AWPer. I think Twist can do a good job. I just don't think it's Nitro's role. Like he's not been in fantastic form since the major, and pretty much never outside of that. He's usually just like doing the bare minimum, and I don't see a place for him in this team if he's not performing as an individual or a role player, or this team seems to be having issues in terms of leadership.
Yeah, it's time to cut Nitro, get Nifty, obviously.
I'd say the problem there is that like getting Nifty is going to be very, very hard because Nifty, like looking at interviews with him, first of all, he's quite happy with Renegades, which we don't know how long it's going to last, but like he wants to be the in-game leader, but not just the in-game leader. He wants his system, and in-game leaders have been alienated from this team in the past, like namely Stanislaw, because they didn't agree with Zeus. And Zeus has like at the end of the day, Zeus has the final say on this team. So if he's not able to get along with Nifty, like I think there's a good chance that like that move wouldn't work or couldn't even happen. Like they won't even get past the preliminary talks. I like of like not even crazy to say, but I love this like heavily rumored move of Coldzera to Liquid because like obviously you're getting an absolute superstar, but I think you're getting a guy who can in-game lead this team. Like I think if he led the team with uh with a lot of like influence from Zeus, like I think this team could be really fucking good. But also you're adding an absolute machine to this team.
And also a player who knows how to win, because like so far Liquid have very definitively proven they don't know how to win. And I like that
Yeah,
is like as cliched as that sounds, like it is a valuable skill to have.
it's only really Taco, and that's coming from like the fucking hard support player role. So it's not as much of a like. It's one thing to have a guy who is like actually has been there, done it, can offer advice, but it's another thing to have a guy who's been there, done it, and is actually going to go out like put the fucking other team in a chokehold and just like fucking start jamming shit in their eyes and stuff. Like that's what Coldzera is going to do.
That was graphic. God damn.
Listen, dude, I remember 2016.
uh Classic. All right, anything more to say before we move on?
I don't know, just big disappointment. Like I love lots of this team, and they're not doing what they need to do.
All right, let's talk about a team that didn't disappoint. G2. Like this, like obviously, I am a little disappointed they didn't beat Big, but like looking back in retrospect, like Big were legit, and I don't think G2 were ready for that because like despite the fact that Kenny is so back, so incredibly back, the Kenneth Essington of old has returned. The problem is Shox hasn't. Like Shox is absolutely not back this tournament.
Yeah, like he had little flashes, but like for me, like Shox is always going to be Shox is going to be a process here because like he's even said that like it's surprised him how much work he's having to put in to get his individual level back. Um, but I think with this team, like the two main things are that like Kenny is legitimately one of the probably top three players in the world right now. Like he's fucking unbelievable. And also this was a team in rebuild, and we came into this event being like whatever, like what we just want to see something promising, and they made playoffs, showing that like they're a lot further along than I thought they were going to be at this point, just because of how much Existence had to change. But like this is a big advertisement for Existence doing a fantastic job with this team because they look like they're very close to being able to springboard into the tier one. Especially because like Smith's Existence and Body are able to frag to a reasonable degree. And if you can get Shocks going, like this team has like a very high ceiling.
One of the thing, one of the great adages of Counter Strike is that like a team that's going to be very good figures it out fast, and I think we can say that about G2. Like obviously we're gonna have to wait on Shox here, but like if Shox does get online in the next few months, like this team is a huge threat.
Well, just because like Existence's entire style is about selecting star fraggers and then putting them into great positions. Like he's doing it really like I think he's getting a lot of impact out of Kenny because that's exactly what he's doing with Kenny. Like they're still trying to find their identity, but at a core, he is putting Kenny into positions where he can just like bang people's heads off. And if he has Shocks in similar-ish form as well, and he can do the same thing on the other side of the map with Shocks, like that's going to be really fucking hard to deal with. Like I think the two things he showed is that like it's this lamb was kind of a proof of concept. Like he showed what he can do and that he still got it as a leader and as a player, to be honest, as well.
And like one of the things that I feel like the French like never get enough credit for, like even back during like LDLC and stuff, like yeah they'd run a lot of dry stuff, but like their flash setups were always super good. And like this team is definitely no exception. Like for having a month of practice, their flashes are nuts.
It's almost like the fucking it feels like the stories you hear when players get asked about like what was it like playing very games in Source, and it's like and they're like some Swedish player would be like, I was blind for 30 seconds and then I died. Like I didn't know I was dead until like 15 seconds after they shot me in the head. Like their utility usage looks really good. There was that long for there was they did that G2 podcast so they talked about and they actually talked about utility usage a lot. The Shocks and Kenny, and they talked about Astralis a bit as well. And I think like Astralis have kind of fucked up. Like they completely changed the meta. Like so many teams are using their utility better than ever before. And I think part of it comes from Existence and part of it comes from Astralis being a great example to teams of what you can do with not just like nades, but everything.
All right. Speaking of Astralis, let's talk about them some. Um, Listen, I'm I'm gonna put on my dad hat here and say I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I get the disappointment because it's like at the as the team they are right now, they have to like I'd consider anything lower than top four is like a serious failure. And then anything but winning is probably somewhat of a failure, at least to some degree. But my thing with this team is it's like they didn't lose to anyone who was just like phoning it in or just like having like gone up playing like a 7 out of 10. They lost to NaVi where everything fucking goes right. Like they're all informed, their system peaks well, they've researched super hard, they've done the hard work, and it's kind of what happened to a lot of teams where it's hard, like it's hard to get to the top, where it's like uh in the words of Dre, what is it like? What's that fucking line? Is like the hard
Anybody
part
can
is
get it.
keeping it, motherfucker.
Yep. Anybody can get it.
But like, because once you're at the top, like your demos are everywhere. Like we're saying, every like almost it feels like every team in the scene, or like a huge number of teams in the scene, have completely changed the way they use nades because they saw how Astralis were doing it. North's Inferno nade usage is like copy pasted from Astralis a lot of the time. Like they've changed the meta so much and everyone's watching their demos that like there are ways to hard counter them, though they are one of the hardest teams ever to hard counter because of how well they adapt, and they nearly adapted well enough to beat this Navi team. Like uh like I was saying before, there's a really fucking easy world where they don't lose those two huge economy rounds at like 12 or 13-12 or 12-12 or whatever on Overpass. They win that map, they fucking flog them on Nuke, and then we're just talking about, oh, they fucking did it again. They 3-0'd big in the final, sick.
The boys are at it again.
Like this was, I don't think this was the worst, because like I don't think they were in like super god tier form individually, but they played pretty well as a team. And it was like the margin was so thin that like there's like I'll just say, like, I think you play that Navi series out like 100 times, they probably win it like 65, probably 70 times, because like it's not bad. Like I think, again, like I was saying, not back to the drawing board. It's just like, let's watch the demos and improve before we head into ELeague and the major.
There is one thing that I do want to nitpick. Um, listen, listen. As we all know, I'm a big fan of Device, but that third map, that CT half against Navi, it was very disheartening to see. Like on that CT side, like Astralis had to win at like at least like 7 or 8 rounds on that CT half to be able to beat Navi, because Navi are obviously a really good Inferno team, but also Astralis' CT side is like the linchpin of their Inferno, and Device is the big anchor player of that side. And like when he was getting picked down mid by Simple with a deagle when he had an op, like it was just a really sad to see. Of I'm fucking hopefully he comes back and he just like absolutely deep dicks like every team at this next event that he's going to, but I don't know. I hate to see the old third map of a big series Device chokes meme.
I mean, the thing for me is that he was fantastic on Overpass and Nuke, and then headed into Inferno. He had like a bad half and an okay half. The way I'll flip it is like, anyone who criticizes this, I want to go back and be like, okay, you better have been criticizing when fucking what LAN was it? It was a while ago where Navi played Astralis in a grand final. Simple had a great performance on Nuke, and then you go to Inferno, and he had an okay half and a horrible half. I didn't see anyone going in on Simple then, so to go at Device for the same thing in a series where he's had two fantastic maps, it's like he does have to do better, but like I still like I don't attribute this series loss to him. Like
No,
I
like
don't think he was a problem. Like Zipex had a horrible
oh yeah, he
series.
was terrible. And like you need better anchor players too. Like Xipix is really important on Overpass. And like if he's not like if he wasn't there, like I think that's a big reason they didn't win like any of the clutches.
as as well as like I think I said before when talking about Navi, I think the map that didn't decide this series because Inferno was still super close, but the biggest map was Overpass, and they had a lot of issues on the B site, like particularly Dupree and Zipex. Like they were just not doing what they can do. Like uh and particularly it was because Electronic was just like running in and getting like mad headshots, but like, and to some degree there's not much you can do. Like when a player is just in that form where not only is he hitting every shot, but it just seems like every timing he gets is unbelievable. Like I remember there's this one where like Device is holding this angle with the AWP and he just like starts to move away, like, and then Electronic rolls around the corner and fucking bangs him in the head, and it's like, well, not much you can really do about that. Even because you really like you had the right read, you were just like half a second off. But I don't know. Like I'm not like this is like I'm not worried about this team at all. Like they've consistently shown, or consistently as in like twice now, that the only time they lose is when an absolutely elite team plays like the best series they've played in months, and like even then it's tiny. Like the margin's so small. It's not like, to use them as an example on the flip side, like it's not like that Krakow game at the major where they counted fucking SK and they absolutely like deep dicked them. Like it's not like that. I think Astralis had a lot of win conditions here and they just lost like some really really crucial points. Like that, probably that first half one overpass and those two economy rounds towards the end were where two scenarios where they could have won this entire thing and they didn't.
That round where Simple gets like absolutely wrecked down to 12 health and then doesn't die for the rest of the round was so frustrating. Like they just did a Mousesports buy where they force spot around Simple's op
Hmm.
and they still won it because Electronic flanks around from long, picks up an op and shoots Device in the back. Uh, that round is gonna haunt me for a bit until Astralis win the major.
I mean, I think they're still hands down the favorite for the major because, like, I didn't see this NaVi in any other series in these three tournaments, pretty much. So, like, the odds of them being able to do this ahead of the major, especially with an Astralis team who generally, like, they are the best placed team to come back from any issues they have, to like look over what they've got, come back and work on them. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to abuse them as effectively in the future. As well as, like, we've just like talked really big on Electronic. I don't think Electronic's going to have this series or I don't think he's going to have like some of these maps like very commonly. Like I don't think you can count on him going 30 and 17 on like many overpass games against Astralis.
Like that, I think that was probably like the map of his career so far.
It's up there.
It's just so frustrating to me. Like Astralis always seem to lose when like aside from that FaZe series, like Astralis always tend to lose when like the worst player goes off. Like when fucking Mo went off on overpass against them, and then when fucking Zeus went off again, on Inferno against them. Like it just takes a shit player like going nuts for one map to beat them.
Yeah, I do think they have, because it's weird because they're very good at shutting down star players, but like they do have a problem where, and like to some degree it just feels like a luck thing where they'll just be playing a team and like the worst player on that team just goes absolutely nuclear and has like the performance of his career, which he rarely ever gets back to.
I don't know. It's just an interesting observation. All right, let's move on to Mousesports then. My notes for Mousesports just consist of a lot of all caps ha 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 because oh my lord, they paid $290,000 for washed up snacks. Like how have you done this?
Yeah, it seems a bit whack that they didn't have like a loan with like a buyout clause at the end of it, because it's like you've not, that's the problem, is like it's such a risk to take a guy who doesn't he doesn't fit the role, so you're most likely going to have to fundamentally change how at least two of your players play to make this guy fit in. He hasn't hit high form in like 18 months, and you just already dropped 300k to get this guy when there are a lot of interesting fucking English speaking talents out there. Like I like when you look at like Imperial going off, it's like I would rather you took a chance on one of those guys, even if it doesn't work out. Like you're still not playing fucking 300K to get him out of a colossal contract, and you're probably like paying him a fuckload in terms of wages to compete with what he was getting on VP.
Yeah, like when this roster move came through, like we were all like we were both really surprised because it didn't seem like Snacks fit both in terms of form and role, and that really showed it. That really showed.
I mean, I'll say it's only one LAN like right after a roster move, so they can still fix this, but it's gonna be really difficult. Like looking at this team, I was like, this. I don't think they're gonna like. I had almost no chance they win the LAN, but I thought they'd make playoffs just based off they have a loose system and a shitload of talent. But they did seem to, despite his fragging issues, they did seem to miss Sticker's ability to sort of just create space from that hard support kind of role. Like there wasn't much facilitating each other, and when they are facilitating each other, it's usually like fucking Sunny setting up Oscar, which like I've expressed my problems with before. It's like Sunny should be used in a like Sunny shouldn't be used like a support half the match. Like that's not who he's meant to be. But I don't know. Like I think they can still fix it, but if I had to predict this team, like I think they're heading for a big sort of identity crisis before they can figure this out.
Yeah, like speaking of Oscar, like when they lost that best of 3 to G2, like Oscar was nowhere to be found. Like he was on milk cartons everywhere, cause like Kenny was putting him in a fucking chokehold.
Yeah, losing to G2 is a pretty bad look for them right now. Like they're a very accomplished team with a lot of talent, and they weren't able to get past the G2, who again still in full rebuild mode. And like Oscar and Snacks, I think were both pretty horrible in that series.
And like if this like people like the common narrative is Oscar is the dynamo of this team, they go as he goes. Well, well, why would you go as a player who can't show up against like really good oppers? Why would you pick him as your dynamo?
Yeah, I think yeah, we've said a lot before that we both have huge issues with Oscar as a individual player, but like I don't know. Like I feel like Oscar's best role is just like slumming it on like a tier 2 team where it's very entertaining, but we don't have to see him waste like other players in a tier 1 team. Like
Yeah,
I'm out on Oscar until someone can figure out his mind.
older, weirder, better world edit. That's Oscar.
Yeah, he's a tier 1 world edit.
Man, that's man. If some people could hear this now, they'd be really mad. But all
Yeah,
I
I
can
don't know.
say
Like
is
I'm
cry is
seeing more and
free.
more. That's true. I'm seeing more and more people questioning him at least, like which is at least somewhat of a payoff for people like me who've been like shitting on this guy for a while and being like this guy is the problem with this team.
Like that event that they just played where they went to they took NaVi 3 to 2. Like if that event didn't show that Oscar is the problem, like I don't know what will.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like that's my problem is I don't know how you fix this. Because like I don't know if the org wants to drop big money. I don't know what roster spots are available. Like I don't think Sticker's coming back.
No, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck Sticko's gonna do. Mainly because I don't know what the fuck Cloud9's gonna do.
Mm.
Like that team is so dead. We'll get to that later though. But, like Cloud9's dead as fuck. Any last words to say about Mouse?
Nah, it's just gonna watch them sort of slowly descend, and eventually they'll figure it out. They've got enough talent, but like, I don't know. This roster move made no sense.
All right. I think now we can go to the team that it was easiest for, and that team is ENCE. Like I was really surprised by ENCE, mainly because I'd never heard of this Sergey guy before, but he was nuts. He was so nuts. I don't know what to take away from ENCE other than the fact that like this guy is really 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 good, and should get a chance on an international team coming here soon.
I mean, it was happening for most of their players, at least all over the tournament. Um, I think heading in, like the two guys I was pointing out were Ariel and Sergey, but I didn't expect them to go off this hard. Like even Alu had like a really fucking good land. Like he had that like I think he who did he 1v5?
I think it was
Might have
Mouse.
been Mouse. Yeah, he had like that nuts 1v5 on. Actually, no, it might have been Navi because it was on Dust too. I don't know, but like essentially, like it was a cool showing. Like that they at least did something. Didn't make playoffs, but like
We never
it
expected them
was
to,
cool they used
so
their opportunity. Like the problem is, I don't know if they can keep Sergey once he turns 18. Because, but I guess you gotta walk because he's super fucking
yeah,
young.
because he's like
But like that
16.
guy doing this on LAN at 16 years old is a fucking good look. It's a good look to. It's a good time to like get him to sign a contract with a higher buyout.
And that was ENCE. There we go.
Yeah,
Uh,
now bigger. Shout out to Natu. Also, the series where they beat Nip was pretty fantastic
yeah,
because that was
that was
revenge for
funny.
Alu for Natu,
For stealing for ruining the Finnish brethren.
and they absolutely fucked them. Like it was
I know one of the maps was
fucking 8 rounds
16-6.
out of like 40
Oh
were
god.
won by Nip. Like that was terrible.
Magnifique, as they say in not
Like imagine
Finland.
getting 16-2'd by ENCE on your map pick.
Yeah, like the ghost of Exist haunts you.
Eef.
Speaking of the actual ghost of Exist, let's talk about Fnatic now. Um, one of the big positives from Fnatic was that JW that series against Navi aside, because they just got bodied, but like JW was really good with the op this tournament. Like it was a really refreshing return to form for him.
I mean, I wouldn't say they got bodied in that series, but yeah, he definitely struggled. But the thing that surprised me is that with bringing in Draken, JW continued his form that he's had for the last like 3-4 months, where he's actually been fucking super good. Like he almost single-handedly won them that series over North, where the margins were so fucking small. Whereas like yeah 16-14, which I think in the end doomed North. Like because um I'll get to this with like a few teams, but like if you lose the first, you still have to play best of threes through for the rest of the group stage, but the first round being a best of one, it can be really harsh because you're immediately going down into a very stacked lower bracket and you have to work your way through the entire thing. But yeah, no, JW was the main thing that was interesting here. This I think this team, it's still too early to really make a lot of opinions on them because they still need time straight up, but it's at least a reasonable start. Crim seemed to have dropped off a little bit because he's not like that god form anymore, which is a bit disappointing. But it's hard to say initially if that's an exist thing or versus golden thing, or if that's his thing or whatever. Like this team's a bit hard to it's a bit hard to talk about because they're so loose and like you get the feeling that they're phoning it in a lot of the time, to be honest.
The
But
old
like
guys
I
club.
think they're going to be just like a decent tier 2 team, and I think they're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, like we talked about this before, but like right now they're just Virtus proing it up. Like they're old. They've won their majors except Draken, and like they just want to chill out and make bank.
Yeah, I think they will get a little better as well once they're able to fit Draken into this team because I just don't think he was ready to jump into a brand new team and then immediately go to a LAN and have to like figure out how to play inside this team because I quite like Draken. It's just it's a big ask for pretty much any player.
Yeah, especially one so young. All right, that it for Fnatic, cause We got a team up next that we're just gonna absolutely ream.
Yeah, I think that's about it for them.
All right, let's talk about FaZe. I think it's safe to say that FaZe are the disappointment of the tournament, despite making top four.
I don't know, dude. Liquid, they were
That's
fucking
true.
pretty
Oh, that's
horrendous.
true. Like, all right, second biggest disappointment.
I think we might disagree because I'm not overly like that mad at FaZe, to be honest.
I don't know. I think that I think that Kerrigan deserves a lot of shit for losing that semi. Like he just got completely outclassed as an in-game leader against God B.
Yeah, I think they really struggled, but like there was still like it was still like a quite close series. But I don't think they were like a lot of teams. I don't think they were ready for what they were gonna get from Big. And when they turned up and just went ham, like it was like, ah, fuck, especially with fucking German Shocks returning. But for me, like I think this team, like I think they're just kind of dead as fuck going through this because at this point they would have known that Olof was going to be back after this, and with him coming back, that's the great news for them. But I think they would have also been thinking like, what the fuck is the point of kind of getting good with Comin, like, or really going super ham at this land because we're immediately going to switch out a player.
Yeah, that's fair. Olafmeister's back, by the way, in case that we didn't make that clear enough. Like he's officially back for the what's the next land they're going to? Is it the Face It land or
ELeague,
ELeague? Yeah.
yeah, ELeague Premier. But like, I think they legitimately were just like, look, we're getting Olaf back after this land, so let's just do that classic thing where you go up and you just play your game and see how far that takes you, which is absolutely perfect for a potential team who are who are pretty tactical and hit the demo super hard. So enter God B and they're able to topple FaZe. So I'm like, I think this is fine. Like they still made a top four, whilst playing just like kind of going out there and fucking playing their like just like going out playing their individual games, enjoying themselves. But like I don't know. I think this is one of those performances where the what happened with the team news right after was pretty telling.
I do wish that Guardian had a bit better series against Big. Like if it felt like he just kind of got shut out by their utility and even some of the out performances from like Tapson and whatnot.
Yeah, he struggled a bit. I think a lot of AWPers struggled against Big because like a lot of teams were not prepared for the fuck shit that Smooya was gonna do. And like I was saying, like get some fucking demos in their hands. I think that probably changes a fair bit, but I think they're one of the teams who kind of suffered because they're like, really, that guy's fucking peeking that shit. Okay, if this was like online, they would just call him a cheater in their like in their IRC chat and fucking be done with it. But that's the good old days, at least.
All right. That anything else for FaZe besides the Olaf news? Do we want to talk about that a little more?
Yeah, I think to some degree, like I was saying before, like I don't think this land counts to that degree, but I think Croman did a fantastic job, and I think they're a lot closer to 100% with Croman and with a stand-in than a lot of teams are. I don't know what the fuck Olaf's gonna be when he comes off not playing for so long.
Like three
Like
months, right?
I think longer maybe,
Mm.
but
It's been a
it's been a fair
while.
while. Yeah, like I I'm just trying to see how much it was. Where is it? I think it was like does it fucking tell me? Like, yeah, it was April 1st is when he first like went off the team. Like, damn, it's been a fair while without him playing Tier 1 CS, so it'll take a while to get him back into it, as well as like I don't super love the like you still end up with weird roles in this team that where back before they super relied on just winning all these like crazy aim duels and making plays, but I don't know if that's going to work against a lot of the teams right now, especially with utility usage as such a priority. Like I think they're going to get counted a lot harder, and you're going to be blind and getting hit with HEs a lot more.
Yeah, like that, like Olaf Meister being really out of form is like my worry, especially since like they have like a little more than 2 months to get him ready for the major.
Yeah, and they're pretty much immediately gonna like because they've only just started pracking with him again apparently, so they're pretty much immediately going to ELeague Premier. So that event's like a big question mark. It could all like come together and they could be sick, but could also kind of be a real issue.
Yeah, I need to look at the team list for that tournament and see who they're gonna
It's
face.
quite good. They got like the 5 best teams and then a bunch of other teams who are just decent. Like they pretty much picked the best teams, so which they usually do.
All right, any closing thoughts on FaZe, or should we move on to the Brazilians?
No, that's about it. I think we can go to Brazil. Brazil.
All right, let's talk about MiBR. I think that the first thing we have to point out is that they didn't make playoffs, but like there's a lot of turmoil going on in this team right now. For starters, it's been announced that Tarek is been released from C9 and is like 99.999% going to MIBR. Like all we have to do is wait on the confirmation for that. And it seems at this present moment that they're going to kick bolts. Like I'd say they'd kick Stewie, but like they're bringing in Tarek. They're probably bringing in Tarek for Stewie.
Yeah, the way I was seeing it is I think they're holding off because if Coldzera comes out with that fucking sequeda and stays, then they're gonna bring him in just straight up like that, or so they're gonna bring him for bolts. But if Coldzera follows through on that, like going to liquid thing, or he's actually said he wants to play with Nico, which is like a fucking that'd be a crazy move. Like what a
Oh,
team that would be, surely. But yeah, if Coldzera is out, then I think they just bring him straight in. But if Bolts goes and they bring him, which I don't know about this like at all, because it just seems like a weird fucking move. It seems like a classic Stewie move where like
this guy's sick.
Stewie is
Trust
very
me, bro.
good. Dude, he's very good at getting jobs for his team, for his friends. Like Automatic, Slemmy. There was
Hey,
another
hey now.
coach that happened as well. Like
Hey
yeah,
now.
like
You
loads
best
of
not
fucking dudes.
listen, dude. You best not step to the greatest IGL to ever grace North America. All right? Slum God Millionaire is a once in a lifetime in game leader, and we were lucky to have him.
Yeah, that was a bit. Listen, I heard it cost Jack Eddie and 3 million, and they only failed because Slemmy didn't see them as good enough for him. So, which is understandable. So,
Yeah, it's not like he gave him like Cold Zero and Nico.
yeah, I don't know. I'd say like I don't get this move because they're just adding in. It's like the thing I use is like it seems like they keep adding attacking midfielders to a fucking football team when it's like no, you need to sign something else. Because like I don't understand what the point of having Stewie, Tarek, and Fur is to some degree.
No,
Like,
there's a
it's
lot
just
of
a really
redundancy.
weird lineup.
There's a lot of redundancy in this team. Like it does like the roles don't like there's way too many overlapping skill sets in this team. It's like you're gonna get a lot of diminishing returns. It's
I
I don't see how this works. And you're still not solving the issue that I think like persists to this day. It's the language issue. Like they're still clearly not good enough at calming in English.
I think it's somewhat fixed because Bolt is the worst English speaker on that team, and they're removing him potentially. But yeah, I don't know. Like it just seems like they don't like no one knows how to fix this team, and I don't think they know either.
They're just kind of throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep signing like really good players. Like I like Tarek a lot, but I don't see how he fixes this team. Because like when I watch MIBR right now, like I don't think they've gotten better or worse for a long time. Like they just seem like they're like fucking spinning tires here, just like completely relying on what if their players are in form or not. Like I think that decides whether they win maps or series or not. Like that series against North at this one, map 3 Inferno Like they won that just because they were winning every single clutch round. Like they were just going nuts on like the post plants, and that's not a good way to be winning.
Yeah, I think that like obviously like Big were better than we thought they'd be, but like not getting out of playoffs when your two best players, Cold Zero and Fur, are like having really good performances like throughout the
Yeah.
entire tournament. Like that's not a great look for you. That shows there's a lot more issues with this team than your stars.
I think there's also an issue where Fallen like kind of gets a lot of credit because he went from a tactical system to a more loose system between teams in around like 2016, 2017. But the thing is that like almost that entire team came up directly through him like teaching him how to play the game. So by going to a loose system, even though he did that, he could still count on like Cold Zero to make the decisions that he would have wanted him to make because he was raised and born into the same philosophy as him. But the more they change the team, the further away they go from that, and the less like direct trust he can have in the decision making of his players. Not like it's necessarily bad decision making, but it's the decision making that Fallen precisely wants. So it's I don't know. Like I have no clue what's gonna happen to this team. Like I fear that they're gonna end up with the same problem, just compounded now by having another same sort of player. But I mean, if Bolts can't do because he can't do a star role, he can't do a support role super well. He can't even like do that like classic anchor role that he did very like a while ago very well. May as well just kick him and bring another star. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the good news is like this team's content factor just got way fucking higher.
Underwater squad.
Man, that
Dude, there's gonna be there will be some fire like YouTube content. So I guess we all win here,
well,
except for
yeah, except for the team.
MIBR. Yeah,
Like they're not gonna win much. All right, I think that's kind of it for MIBR. Like this tournament's results were kind of just predicated on the fact that this team has been in turmoil, and they're probably going to continue to be in turmoil. Like it's like this whole thing is probably not going to end well.
yeah. I don't know like how to like. I've even been thinking about like concepts like what if Fallen went to Team Liquid or something, and like that. I'd feel like that'd actually go really well, to be honest.
I mean, like reuniting Fallen and Zeus would not be bad. Like they won two majors together.
And you get a guy who's like Fallen is fantastic at like he's such a good player to have for a team like Liquid who are inconsistent, have some mental issues because him going across, he would be able to like put an arm around fucking ELeague and like get that guy going. Like he's because he's been there, done it. He's a fantastic tactical leader. He's a good like leader of men. Like I think he would be great for that team, even if he just puts in like a decent AWPing performance. Because he might not be fantastic, but he can still take duels against the best of them and get like reasonable results, even if he might not be able to take games as over as much as he used to.
Um, that's it then. Let's
Yeah,
move on to
that's my pocket move. Like that's my crazy out there roster move. But
this is
uh,
not going to Tom's lock of the week.
that's dude. Yeah. I'm
This is your
accepting
dark
GM
horse take.
roles. Fucking get at me, NA orcs.
Yeah,
Y'all
dude.
need help.
Listen, you're gonna be like Trill Withers, man. You're just gonna be like Tyler. You're you're gonna offer your GM services to the Atlanta Hawks of NACS. My
Yeah,
first move
I
is
will
to
pick
side LeBron James.
it.
A
And
commendable
then
first move, I must say.
yeah, that would be my first move is so we signed Cold Zero. He wants to play with Nico, so obviously Nico will come for free. So I'm already half the pay bill, and I've got you two superstars. Fucking think about that.
You're welcome, America.
DMs open.
All right, let's move over to the last team that we're gonna talk about for Cologne because like who gives a shit about the other teams? They're all dead or they stink. Let's talk
That's
about let's
fair.
talk about North.
North.
Northside Long Beach. Um, do we want to talk about the roster move first? Because this is a weird one, a really weird one.
It kind of puts like a weird shadow over this land because surely they had to know this was coming through.
Yeah, so
And
the roster move that took place shortly after Cologne was they kicked the academy player they picked up Mertz, and they picked up Mixwell out of nowhere. Like, does Mixwell just speak every language on the planet, or are they just gonna switch to English comms? Because as far as I know, like all the players in this team have only ever commed in Danish.
I assume it's got to be English because like I don't see how he would know Danish. Like to be honest, because he's Spanish, and I don't think there's a big overlap there. At least not that I know of.
No, like at least with like when he was like subbing in for G2, like I could see it. Like France and Spain right next to each other, like similar
And
language
they're
roots.
more or less similar languages, so he's
Yeah,
gonna,
exactly. They're
yeah,
both romantic languages. Like
hell
Danish
yeah.
is completely different from fucking Spanish and Spanish and French.
And Danish is famously like one of the hardest of the sort of Western European languages to learn. Like comparing it to like, yeah, it's compared to like Swedish a lot, and apparently it's just like it's Swedish on nightmare mode. So it's like I assume it's English, but I guess we don't know. But like it's so weird as well because it's like Mertz finally started being really good, and he's had like a pretty good like couple months, like and been really found his role, and then they just kicked him. Like I don't fucking get what's happening here. And like I get the feeling that they gambled on Mixwell because they're like, we need an AWPer. And my thing with Mixwell is always, you have to make him just cement himself into a role because he has these fucking identity crisis like moments every like fucking 2 months it seems like, where he's like, I don't want to be an AWPer anymore. I want to be this. I want to be that. It's like just fucking nail him down. Like you don't need a player in this team where the roles are so defined having like that sort of problem. But yeah, I some like it must have been a personal thing with Mertz because I can't see why they would kick him when he's just hit his role super well and all the other guys are lining up. And like this wasn't the worst LAN. Like I think when they like going up against Fnatic, like they probably should have won that series. Like they just imploded on in the first half and like dropped 12 T rounds, and they still only lost 16-14. Like if they don't completely fall apart towards the start of that map, there's a really good chance they close this out. And if JW doesn't go nuclear, they still, regardless of what we've said about Liquid, they still 2-0'd Team Liquid, which is fucking super legit. And like and then I was saying before, I don't shit on them a lot for losing that MIBR series because it still went 3 maps, like 3 pretty close maps, and like that Inferno was legitimately just full on clutch gene from like Fur and Coldzera in superstar form, and you can't do a ton when they're like just like fucking banging people through smokes, like win like 2-on-4s, 2 on whatever, like a bit unlucky there. Like I think it was still like a good showing for them, but disappointed that they weren't able to make playoffs in the end, which I think they probably should have. But like, I think they'd have a shot at them because they're both tactical teams. I don't think North are as tactically abusable as a lot of the other teams that Big beat. Because I'm still like a big MSL guy. Like I really like MSL system. Like
One,
I think people are fucking idiots if they just like be like, oh shit, because he doesn't frag super well.
no, he was making a lot of really great like mid-round calls this event. Like, a lot. I think he
And
could.
to,
I think he consistently like outgamed a lot of players, like a lot of teams this event.
And to compare him to the guy that we were like showing before, like I think when I say stuff about Zeus, like someone might naturally just be like, yeah, but you're big on MSL and existence. And it's like, yeah, but like particularly Existence and MSL to a lesser degree, but still, like, they are guys who live and breathe Counter-Strike. Like, uh Gob is the same. Like, when they have individual issues, it's not for lack of trying. It's gonna be for they fucking put everything into the tactical side of this team, and then they fucking work their asses off to try and get their aim to a better level and be the best player they can be. But like, Zeus doesn't do that a lot of the time, and that's why I fucking hate Zeus, because he mouths off about some bullshit, and he gets super cocky and mouths off about bullshit. But it's like, yeah, but you can't say that and still be like this motherfucker leaving. Like, okay, let's be real. We know these threads go up around the major where people will be like, look at the Steam hours of all these teams, and like the French guys will have like fucking 25 hours in the last 2 weeks, and then like Zeus will have like fucking, oh my god, he's played 100 hours a week for the last like fucking month. That's crazy. It's like, motherfucker, he knows these threads are going up, so he just like fucking goes to boot camp, turns CS on, and then fucking goes to sleep. Like, it's fucking, like, we know he's these are boosted numbers. Like the point being that like these guys like MSL are not failing for lack of trying, and they're still putting in like a fantastic system, and you can see their imprint on this entire fucking CS team. Whereas like where a leader who actually has issues is someone like Zeus, where for fucking months that team looked lost and they didn't look like they really knew what they were doing, and he was shit.
Listen,
It's just they finally figured it out to some degree.
it's become very apparent that one segment of teams was not enough to shit on Zeus. We needed two.
Yeah, like I'm just so fucking I'm so fucking triggered that this guy's like, because like I I have some issues with this system, but like that's the beautiful thing about CS is like every fucking person can have different interpretations of a team or a scenario, and neither of them are wrong. But like the thing I hate, like I hate players coming up like whenever they win or something happens, and like being like, and just fucking then talking mad shit, because it's like love him or hate him, like Conor McGregor wins a lot and he works really hard, and pays off the shit talking. Like, you can't just like look like fucking trash and bomb out of lands for months and then win one land and be like, you'll do fucking not. It's like, fuck off. Come on. Like, where was this when you were like getting fucking railed by tier 2 teams despite having like, where were you losing to fucking Mousesports in a series where Simple was like Simple, I swear to God, dude, Simple was like bending bullets like that fucking Angelina Jolie movie. Like, he was
Shouts to Wanted.
breaking the game. Like, the game was fucked. Like, it's unbelievable what Simple was doing, and you're still and you still lost because Zeus and Edward were fucking horrendous. Like,
and in the back of his mind, like he's probably like, man, I don't think Simple did enough there.
it's gonna be like, you didn't start hard enough.
It's like that Nico sports team where it's like, he just didn't do enough. It's all Nico's fault here.
Like, they would lose like a fucking series where Nico went ham, and then like Dennis would be like, but I think that I should have more star run. Nico would be like, shut the fuck, like,
He's just he's just straining from punching his monitor.
Yeah, it's more like you would like Dennis would say something like, I think I could be a real star if you gave me more roles. So you just cut to like just cut to Nico just like fucking veins splitting out of his fucking neck and forehead. Like,
and this
poor guy's like, what more can I do?
This has just become like the player haters ball episode.
Yeah, and like, God bless Nico as well. Like, he wanted to win so fucking bad. He actually listened to Dennis at one point, was like, maybe I've gone insane, but like maybe like I'm gonna try anything. And that didn't work either. They got worse because they took roles and resources away from Nico, who was like doing everything. And he also became part support while still being the fucking hard carry and the in-game leader, and it didn't fucking work because Dennis fucking sucks. Like, he's an awful player.
I feel like we've got off track from North here.
But yeah, regardless, like, fuck all these guys. Back to North.
One thing that I want to talk about is that Tom, I want to apologize to you. You were right about Valda. I might have been wrong on how good he actually is because when he got put up against tier one teams, he came up really, really small. Like, like they were giving him resources, the means to succeed, and he just wouldn't take them. Like he was quite bad, I feel, at this event.
Yeah, he wouldn't seize those means of production, you know. But
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
he was. I think I don't know, man. Like it felt like something was a bit like off or janky or something because he's usually a lot better. Um,
Yeah, like
I don't know what's going on.
every time I've seen Valda play, like with like on like lands against like tier two teams, like he's been really good, and I'm like, Tom, like I think you're underrating this guy.
Well, because it's weird. It's a weird how I rate him. Like, because I think he's super good, but I think I always say he's meant to be Zipex 2.0. Like, I think he's meant to play in the second best Danish team as Zipex, or like if Zipex retires for whatever reason. Which, like, the problem with this analogy is like you say Zipex 2.0, so you're like, oh, maybe he can replace Zipex in Astralis. It's like, no, he's older than Zipex, so
Oh
like,
no.
yeah, he's like 2 or 3 months older, I think, but I think that's what he's meant to be. Like I don't think he's meant to be a hard carry, even though he did carry this team for a fair amount of time. Um, but yeah, I think something looked off with him. This I wouldn't take this event as like a proof of my concept, to be honest, because I don't think he was performing at the level he can get to, and I think that might have just been because he knew they were a dead team.
Yeah, I
But
don't
I will
know.
say, fucking AZ bike.
Yeah, it turns out that the segment that we've now named, it's that that la last the last episodes was right. AZ is indeed unwashed. He's been fixed.
Also, he's doing pretty well at that open DreamHack Open Valencia. Like he went off against Heroic, and I think he played pretty well against that first team of some like random Portuguese shitters. But like, because you would have seen, do you see that fucking ace he got yesterday?
Oh yeah, no, that pistolates was so insane. Like he's just fucking one tapping everyone who jumps out of the palace on Mirage. So bananas.
That's what I was saying. Like, as honestly as a former like real AZ hater at times, I'm back in on him because like I've just been because I don't know why, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me, but I've been fascinated with North for so long that I'm always like keeping up on their demos, and like I really started to doubt everything about this fucking world, where I would watch him and I'd be like, AZ's kind of got a great role here, and his form's coming back. Like I think AZ's gonna be good again soon. Like, and I think that's the real big thing here for this team, is that like I think they can get AZ going again. The problem is Mixwell's fucking shit at DreamHack Open Valencia so far. Like he's just I'm fucking out on Mixwell. Like I've always said that like he can find a role if he's able to stay to it, but like I'm out.
Listen,
I would rather they had Mertz. Like I don't get this move.
listen, Mixwell has commitment issues. Like you'll never tie him down.
Yeah.
He is a renegade Spanish lover. One month he loves the op, the next month he loves the rifle.
Yeah, and it's like, and then the next month he's like, fucking G Play 2.0 boys, eh? So please, like, come on, my man. But like, I still really like how this team's set up. Like, I just really like the roles for everyone except for Mixwell right now. I think Valda's still. I think you can fix Valda. Like, I think it's just one like a bit off event. He wasn't terrible. He just didn't look like the superstar. Um, but yeah, like I still love Kirby in this role. Still think AZ's back. Like I don't know. Like I'm worried for this team because I really want to see where this experiment goes. Like I want to see the end to this, not just like they fade away because Mertz like fucking that I don't know what the fuck Mertz did, but like they don't seem to like him anymore.
He's too young. He doesn't. I don't know. I don't get it. Like it's like you said. Like Mertz like had a few good maps. Like the last land they played. Like he was all right this land, and then they just kick him.
Like, I don't know. It feels like something where like they were going for a secret handshake or something, and like Mertz accidentally like brushed the back of his hand against like AZ's dick or something, and it was really awkward, so they had to kick him. Like I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what you do with this team. Like I don't know what's happening. Like please help explain. So I hope one of these guys like explains this shit in an interview soon. Though Mertz is a very hot-headed guy, so we might get some very interesting explanations.
Yeah, especially that probably makes sense. Like if Mertz is a hot-headed guy, like a lot of these guys are kind of like passive.
Yeah,
Especially like Kirby, like doing one of the most passive aggressive fucking CS roster moves of all time, just forcing himself out of Astralis.
yeah, and they got rid of Magisk and Config, who are like a lot more expressive players. So maybe legitimately is they want like players who are much more measured and calculated.
And like if that's coming from the top down with MSL, that makes a lot of sense. So
I mean, maybe it's like I feel like it's similar. Like you hear these stories of like these like Japanese internment camps during the war,
oh boy.
where MSL's like the fucking Japanese general, where they would talk about like every day or once a week or something. They would like just walk into the cell, pick like a random prisoner, and just fucking straight gank them right in front of everyone. I feel like MSL does that with his players, just so everyone knows who's in charge.
Fuck.
Like every like 4 months, he'll come out and just fucking kick someone into the wilderness.
So you're saying
And
that
like,
so what you're saying is North is a Japanese POW camp.
yes,
Hmm.
just like Rubino-san.
Oh no. Your time has come.
Yeah, look at him now, fucking kicked off of heroic. So, in many
MSL
ways,
MSL
in the fucking ditch in Japan.
fucking I just imagine like one of those shitty like photoshops where it's like Fist of the North Star. Like you have MSL's head like transposed on on Kenshiro's head and he's like Omae mo shinderu and it cuts to Mertz and he's like Nani and then he explodes.
Yeah, that's. I mean, at least heroic is there to pick up all these fucking like
Oh dude,
to
oh my
like.
god, that works so well because it's Fist of the North Star. Oh, it's so
Oh.
good. If I had any fucking photo editing skills or software, I would make that.
Yeah, dude, that's a good analogy, but like the way like, and now I just think of like fucking Freiburg is like that you know that scene from Monty Python where he's like, just bring out your dead, except it's
Yeah.
in a village with one house, and it's MSL's house, and it's like, bring out your wash players, and it's
He's like
just like he
Freiberg's like,
comes
I
out and
feel
he fuck.
happy, and then they club him and put him in the cart.
That's like yeah, it's fucking Mercer being like, I'm not dead yet. Like, yes, you are, fucking.
Well, he'll be dead this week.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I feel like that's an apt analogy for what's like that. That is the clearest anyone can explain North right now.
All right. Now with that resolving into madness, let's get segmented here and get to segments. What do you have for nuts and pugs this installment?
I feel like we missed out on a golden one because uh, going back a couple weeks though, we had this fucking insane map go forward where what the fuck was it? It was the close qualifier for ESL One New York where Optic went up against North, got 16-0'd on their own map pick, and then 16-11'd on Mirage. Like that's some classic shit.
I don't listen. These teams doing this like getting like absolutely shit stomped on their own map pick. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like coming back to Fnatic here, but Fnatic kept picking fucking overpass and they kept getting absolutely dicked on it. Like they kept saying, "Oh, we liked what we saw in practice." It's like clearly, I don't know what team you were practicing against, but like it did not look good on LAN.
Yeah, like Inferno and Overpass, they've said that shit where JW like came out and said that thing where he's like, Because like Thorin was like shitting on him, being like, "This is a classic exist, like map veto," and JW's like, "Yeah, but you don't know. We looked good in practice." It's like, fuck off, dude. You're getting banged out by so many teams, and like when it does work, it's off like a very fucking close thing. Like you, just because you don't have a map pool doesn't mean you have to like fucking back up every choice. Just be like, "Yeah, no, we're trying something." But the only other nuts and pugs is like, bro, this week, like I looked it up. Like I hadn't played a face at pug in 2 years, an ECA pug in a fucking year, and it's been like 2 months since I played matchmaking. I tried to go into a game, like and I DM'd so my aim was on, but like, dog, like I would just. I'm not fucking match fit. I would just be like holding an angle or something in like B and just like be like, all right, concentrate, concentrate, and then I'd be like, is cauliflower the only white vegetable? Like, surely there's another one I'm forgetting, right? And then
Oh,
like something
daikon
would just like
radish, you
fucking
idiot.
wide peek me, like and poof, like fucking dead. It's like, ah, sick. But
Daikon
like,
radish, you idiot. God damn.
oh, that's true, yeah. I never got to complete my thought though because I had a fucking bullet in my like a fucking CZ bullet in my brain. But like, I don't know, man. Like fucking, I don't know what's happened to fucking pugs, dog. Like, I felt like a fucking a T-ball fucking ball at like a camp for kids with no depth perception because like I was just getting swung on non-stop. Like it was fucking insane. I don't know how to fucking beat these kids.
Man, I rage quit a matchmaking. I rage quit a matchmaking game. Like I fucking like we lost 14-16. Like I play like dog shit. I had like maybe like 3 good rounds all game. And like Marcus was just one of our friends Marcus was in Discord with me and he's like, "So you want to queue a face a pug?" And I just fucking leave. Like I did not want to fucking did not want to do that shit. Like I was just
Dude,
done.
I was so I think I dropped a triple double on Dust 2. Like we won the map pretty convincingly, but like even when like because I think I went 2-3 over like 5 games, and I had like a horrible game and then like 4 okay ones, but like I was just nothing's working. Like I was like I just kept like tagging people and they would run away, and like I ended up like with like it was something like fucking 20 kills, like 11 assists, and like fucking 19 deaths or something, like ridiculous. Like I I don't know, man. Like that's fucking I don't know what's happened to this fucking scene, dude.
All right, so in summary, North are nuts and pugs and we are very much not nuts and pugs.
Yeah.
All right. So for this week's for this episode's installment of Please Watch the Podcast, it's my turn. Oh no, no
Mm.
wait, no, it's your turn because I did the yeah, it's your turn to do it.
Is it? I thought I did the World Cup last time.
No. Yeah, you did the World Cup and then I did the slam poetry of fucking Flow Ride is Low.
No, that was before.
Oh really? Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
was. All right. So
But I
keeping it
guess we do have one though, in the sense that uh following up on the last one, the Russians, like we like very wisely you called that the Russians were going to win the World Cup because Putin rigged it and the whole organization is a sham, and very intelligently they called off the rigging of the World Cup, knowing that we were on to them.
listen,
So
I've
let it be not fooled.
let it be known also that doping does not help you in PKs, and that's how they went out to Croatia.
That's true. Like that's because I think they miss a fair few of them. Like I assume
Oh
penalties are
yeah,
probably
no, they
harder.
lost two. They missed two of them.
You're gonna like, yeah. I feel like taking a penalty whilst like roided as fuck is probably harder.
And like it's really funny though because like apparently there were like
Allegedly
confirmed
roided.
reports of like them doping and like FIFA just don't give a shit.
So
It's
yeah,
like
what are
yeah,
you gonna do?
what are you gonna do?
Home
It's the
country.
home country, man. The boys gonna let boys be boys.
Like the fucking stats would be like, they've run like 10 kilometers per game more than every other team, huh? Huh. They're still like fucking doing a high press like 120 minutes into fucking games, huh? Weird. Whereas like you watch the Croatians over the last couple games and they were dead. Like like I don't know how they're gonna tape fucking Modric back together and push him back out there in the fucking final because he is fucked. Like he's absolutely fucked.
All right, but keeping in concert with our theme of the World Cup, it's time for us to have a eulogy for probably the meme of the year. Unfortunately it is not coming home, England. Uh, you gave me some great times, some great memories. We had some excellent videos of English lads throwing beers, upturning cars, partying in mattress stores, just being general abhorrent fucking hooligans. But you know what? It was all for the meme. Like this young team made an entire nation, a cynical, like depressed nation with shit weather. They dared to dream for a few weeks, and I think that them singing that don't look back in anger after they just lost really sums up what this meme has done to this nation.
This an impromptu meme review?
Ooh, I don't know. YouTube doesn't want that content.
Oh, that's true. Got to keep that on the down low. So this is a meme retrospect.
A eulogy for a dead meme.
So I would give that meme like a decent 8 to a say yeah, strong 8 to a light 9.
Yeah, the real unfortunate, the real hampering of that meme is that it's not very remixable. Like we're
Yeah.
gonna have to wait 4 years just to be able to say it again.
Though I think that adds to the meme as well is that it's around 4 years is a good lifespan for a meme usually. So like in 4 years it'll be ready to be funny again and it makes sense for it to come back.
That's true. It's why all the best memes are found at the World Cup. Like 7-1 lasted us a good bit.
Dude, 7-1 will never die. Like actually I honestly think next World Cup it'll still be a thing. Like
Just because it
I
just because it like completely snatched the hearts of an entire nation. It just
I try to explain to non-football watchers just how absolutely devastating that was because like in the context of like it was in their country, they were one of the favorites, and they like the government decided like to fuck their country economically for this World Cup, and they got fucking humiliated in a semi-final. Like they made it far enough to a semi-final and got destroyed. Like that is like that it's a trauma that an entire country underwent. Like they will never be over that game.
man, that's depressing. All
Yeah,
right,
like that's no team's ever taken shit that seriously.
and then have it blown up that poorly in their face.
Yeah, because like if a lot of teams get beat 7-1 and they're just like, yeah, but like and they're just like, yeah, okay, it happens, but like now like, they're like this is a country who's they'll never let it go. The Germans have let it go. Actually, did you hear? You might have heard the story where Thomas Muller, who's a player who plays for the German team, apparently like there was a couple. He plays at Bayern Munich. A couple Brazilian players had to like get a formal complaint to put through to stop him from talking about it because he kept making fun of them after they
Oh
won the World
no!
Cup.
Fuck.
Because he kept fucking with them.
Oh no.
Because it'd be
Thomas, I can't
like
believe you done this.
it'd be like because you know how there's I like to imagine like you know that ad where it's Jalen Rose runs into Kobe and then the waiter's like he's like, oh hey, it's like being on. He's like, how many cherry like how many
Olives in
is
your
it how many cherry
martini.
olives? Yeah, and he's like 81. I feel like that was Thomas Muller trying to stretch that. It's like, how many olives do you want? He's like, I want 7 in this drink and 1 in this one. And that's like the 5th time he's referenced to that day.
And they're
The
just like
single
trying
tear
so
rolls
hard.
down Dante's face.
Like they're trying so hard to just not beat the fucking shit out of him. All right. Do you have anyone for this installment of a new segment that we're calling the laundry list, in which Tom goes over players that are washed and unwashed? So for this episode, who's washed?
I'm trying to think if there's anyone who's dramatically become washed or unwashed. Like I'll say, like Skadoodle is somehow like we thought he was washed up, but like god damn, he
It's
was
just a whole
so
new level.
bad.
It's a new level.
18 kills in like nearly just under 60 rounds against fucking NaVi. That like and apparently he's not retiring. Like there was that he did that like shit bait shit where he like puts a fucking tweets a sad face and then DK reported that he's not actually retiring. Like there was a thing where I kind of get to some degree because Golden is allegedly Sticker staying Golden's going to come in and be the in-game leader. But so you give him a shot, but like there's so little firepower in that trio of Golden, Skadoodle, and Sticker. I don't know how you win games. Like, I flat out don't understand how to win with that.
This is Automatic's moment. That's all I'll say.
It has to be. At least Rush is going to be a star player again.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
But, like, fuck me. That's pretty bad. That's grim. Like, I am incredibly impressed, astounded, shocked, like blown away by Skadoodle's pure levels of employment. Like, how's he done this?
Listen, there's this football coach in America. Well, former football coach. His name's Jeff Fisher. He was fucking incredible at just like getting a job and keeping it. Like his one claim to fame is that like he got a team to one Super Bowl ever. And then ever since that it's been nothing but mediocrity. Like the famous Jeff Fisher meme is like he'd go 7-9 every year. Like, there's this flowchart where it's like Jeff Fisher's team. Are you under 500? Win a game. Are you at 500? Stay the same. If you're above 500, lose a game. Like this, like, but the thing is, like, he'd never get fired. Like, he'd always, like, he'd be in this like old boys club of like American football, where like they'd never fire him. Like, they'd always keep him around, just because like, oh, he's a great guy to have. He's a great guy for the organization to have. He's a great presence in the locker room. Like, but he's just like he never improved players. He never did anything except go 7-9 and keep a job.
I love those like mediocre journeymen. Like it's a they always have good stories in the end, but like I think Skadoodle's even more impressive because he's been straight horrendous for a little while. Like imagine looking at a LAN and looking at the two series you played and being like, huh, we got 2-0'd and I got 21 kills over 2 maps. And that's your best, that's the better of your 2 performances. Like what, like he's, like it kind of sucks to say it to some degree because apparently he's like a really nice guy, like pretty reasonable, quiet dude, but he's fucking horrible. Like it's beyond a joke that he's still in Cloud9. Maybe actually maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. Instead of him leaving so that like Cloud9 can ascend by losing Tarek, like losing Stewie, losing Tarek, bringing in like fucking Sticko, Golden. Maybe they're bringing Cloud9 down to his level as opposed to bringing like getting him out to bring Cloud9 up to the level they should be.
Man, that's the biggest brain. That's the biggest galaxy brain move I've ever heard. Like, if you just make your team shitty, like we'll have a reason to keep Skadoodle because he won't look as shitty.
Like I think like in summary, I'm pretty sure that Jack Etienne is Skadoodle's dad, and that's how he's still in this team. That's the only way.
Listen, I can't fire him. He's my son. This is the family business.
This is this is like the fucking Clippers with Doc Rivers and Austin Rivers, and like Doc Rivers like lost. They took away his like they let him to just coach. Like took away his like GM like roster move oversight, and they like didn't they like trade Austin Rivers within like a week?
I don't know if that. I think they kept like Doc as GM for like 1 year. Like, sorry, they just made Doc the coach for 1 year. Because like I
Mm,
think I think like Jerry West or someone else was their official GM.
yeah.
But after the season, after like free agency started, they got rid of him real quick for this season. They're like I don't know how Doc managed to convince like the front office like just keep him for 1 year, see what he does.
But it's the the best I can't remember how this take, but it's like, listen, dude, everyone talks about the Clippers' failures. No one just talks about their success. A beautiful blooming of a father-son relationship. Like he gets to spend time with his kid. Like, so Doc Rivers is the real winner here. Who are we to tell him no?
This is another like American football reference, but like it's for college football. Like there's this one coach who's not employed at that school anymore, but he said after they lost like a really close like rivalry game, he's like, you know what, my guys aren't champions on the field, but they're champions of life. It was
so
so good, so
so
good.
I guess that's the best way to view it, is Skadoodle champion of life.
Fuck. All right. Do we have any players that are that have become unwashed?
I mean, trying to think if there's anyone big. Like I already, like Electronic went from being like a little unwashed to super unwashed, but like I don't think I have a bombshell like the fucking AZ is unwashed thing.
Maybe JW being unwashed.
Yeah, but that's been going for a while now. That's been like 3-4 months, which is crazy. Like the only like other teams I have is like all of Ninjas in Pajamas super washed. But like,
Yeah, they're not good. Like that's kind of the problem though when you have so many volatile players in the roster.
mm,
Like
I
there's
think a lot of players, like recently, a lot of teams have become good with like new players, but not a lot of players have like pulled themselves out of the washed pit. Like not a lot of teams have pulled them out of like the laundry hamper into the unwashed status.
man,
At least not over the last
it's
month.
gonna be a great day when we bring this segment back and we can say with utmost confidence that Shox is unwashed. It's gonna be a great day.
Yeah, that'll be soon. I guess Alu actually. Alu was really good at this land.
All right, that was the 8th episode. I don't recommend following either of us on Twitter. Don't follow me at
Fuck off.
Jackalope322.
Yeah, never. Just don't leave.
Yeah, and don't follow him at Tom Sato either. Like his Twitter stinks.
Yeah, very private person. Fuck off.
I'm a very private person who has an unprivated Twitter account.
I mean, under the Freedom of Information Act, you have to, or you're not a patriot.
That's true. A patriot of what country though?
All of them, but mainly America. Like what I'm saying is, if you private your Twitter account, you hate America and you hate freedom.
Mm.
More or less an ISIS member is all I'm saying. If you private your Twitter account.
And there we go. That's gonna do it for us. Bye everyone.